Hey, what's going on, you guys? Happy Wednesday. I think it is. It's Wednesday. Um, so it's been a while since I've done one of these. Usually I just record these particular episodes. But this one I decided to live stream it. Hopefully, I can get to where I need to be. I know I'm live on my Facebook and I'm live on YouTube. I was trying to get my Instagram live feed to pop up. I guess it's not going to pop up. Uh, It's gonna make me put all this stuff in again. Okay, wait. So I'm hoping that I can get this going. Anyway, um, welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. It's your boy Terry. This is the Cancer Chronicles. It has been a couple of it's been a while since I have done one of these. So hopefully, like I said before, I hope like I can get some folks on here, get some traction going. Instagram is not gonna let me be I'm gonna shut Instagram down because that's gonna make me mad in a minute. All right. So anyway, just to give you guys an update, those of you guys who have been following um the journey, it's been a long one. Uh so for those of you that may be watching or listening to this, I'm gonna give you guys a recap. Again, my name is Terry. I was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer on December 23rd of 2024. And life has been such a whirlwind since that's happened. I mean, so much stuff has changed. People have entered and exited my life. Um, just when you think about having pancreatic cancer or any cancer for that matter, you think about life and all the mistakes you've made, all the bad choices you've made, and all that. Um, but what I've learned in my journey is that I can't beat myself up too much for it. Uh, a lot of stuff a lot of the choices and bad decisions that I made in my life are choices and bad decisions that I've made, and no one I can't. Hey, Shira, what's going on? How are you? Watching me over there on YouTube. I appreciate you. Um, so you learn to live with the mistakes. You learn to live with it, and you come to a realization about a lot of things. And uh, I've learned that I've made a heaping helping of bad choices. Sometimes it's hard to sit and to look at it, in this. I'm not going to say I'm at the end of my life. I'm not going to say that because that's not. You put everything. You know, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So if I sit here and say, "Oh, it's my end of my life. This is the last time you guys might hear from me," I'm not there. I'm not there yet. There are certain realizations in my life though. Is that some things I can take it back, some things I can't. Some things I can make up for, some things that I can't, and I'm just in that place, right? So this is just an update of where I am in the podcast, where I am in my cancer journey here. Um, so those of you, like I said, if you're new here, if you're new listening to this, diagnosed back in December 23rd, 2024. Um, when I say life has been all the way difficult coming from the support, money, being able to live, and it's tough, right? And I found myself, relying on people. I started me a GoFundMe here a couple months ago. Had a tremendous reaction to the GoFundMe, to all of those people that donate to the GoFundMe. I appreciate you more than you will ever know, and you know who you are. There are some folks that extended above and beyond on that GoFundMe, and I appreciate you. Um, so just to give you guys like I said, another recap. I am scheduled for 12 rounds of chemo. I just finished up round 6, so I'm halfway through. So what happens now is that I get a CT scan. That way, my oncologist can look at my CT scan and tell me on Monday, what the chemotherapy is doing. Now, what we're all hoping for, and what I'm praying for, is that I come back with a report, um, because it could come back one of three ways. Okay, one way she can walk in there and say, "Mr. Little, um, the chemo is doing absolutely nothing. It has not shrunk your tumor, hasn't done anything. It hasn't grown. No, that's one thing. It hasn't done anything. Second thing she can do, come in there and say it hasn't done anything. However, your tumor hasn't grown, nor shrunk, or nor metastasized to any other organ. Because once it metastasizes to something else, like my liver or my kidneys or whatever, then I go into stage 4, and then they give me another prognosis. Um, so she could come in there and say, "Hey, you could be completely NED, which is the cancer is completely gone." You can do that. She can come in there and say, "We had just enough shrinkage of this tumor to where we can go ahead and have your Whipple surgery conducted and get rid of the cancer altogether." So that's where we are. Okay. So we're in the middle. We're dead smack in the middle of the treatments. My goal is to ring the bell after the 12th round. Um, so realistically, I'm faced with a decision, you know, and my decision is going to be: do I comp- it, and depending on how she comes into the room on Monday, she's gonna, whatever she says to me, my decision is going to be one. Okay, well, if she comes in and says, Mr. Little, the chemo's not working. There's nothing. It's not shrinking. Not doing anything. My decision then would be: do I continue chemo? Now, I, that's one of those questions. You don't want to be faced with that. But realistically, if she comes in there and she comes in the room and says, the chemo's not doing anything for you, my decision at that point will be: do I continue chemo? Because if 6 rounds ain't done nothing, 6 more ain't gonna do anything either, right? That's kind of the premise, right? Um, if she comes in there and says, "Hey, well, the chemo is doing something. It's not. It hasn't. Excuse me. It hasn't shrunk it to the point where you can do surgery." Then I'm going to be like, "Okay, let's go ahead and finish that. Let's go ahead and finish the last 6, and then go into radiation and see what happens." Or she can say, "Uh, yeah, that's nothing we can do." Then I'm faced with it. That's the real decision. That's what uh, the fear sets in. And I know my Christian folk is going to say to me, they're going to say to me, God didn't give us a spirit of fear, all that, and I totally understand it. I totally understand it, and but that doesn't stop me from still being fearful, because it could be any number of things that could come out. So what I'm asking to people who are listening, people who are watching this live stream, pray for a brother, because you just never know. You just never know. So that's my update with my cancer, and the journey that I'm on. If it were you, this is the question I want to pose to my audience that's listening. Whether you're listening on the podcast, the audio version of this, whether you're watching on live stream. If it were you, and she walked in, and your oncologist walked in and said, "Okay, Mr. and Mrs. So and so, your chemo isn't working, hasn't done anything for you. What would you do?" That's the question. Um, or if she comes in there and says, you know, um, "It's shrinking a little bit. You know, if we continue, it might have some more progress. What do you do?" Or she comes in there and says, "There's nothing we can do. We can go. We can stop chemo and go right into radiation," which is probably what I would do. if she came in if it were me and she came in and said that, "The chemo's not working, what do you wanna do?" I think that would be the first that would be my absolute decision. I think I would stop chemo immediately, and I would jump on radiation. But, again, this is just an opinion. I'm asking you guys for your opinion. What would you do? Okay, Dexcom. Alright, 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 alright. That's my Dexcom. For those of you that know anything about that, um, that's it. If you're a diabetic and it monitors your blood sugar, hey, so it just kinda I wear it under my arm. There it is right there. And I wear it under my arm, and it monitors my blood sugar, which is kinda high right now. I need to take some insulin. But anyways, what would you do? So, switching gears, and I've said this before in this podcast, and I'll say it again and again and again, and I'll say it until I'm no longer on this earth, is that love the people who love you, support the people that support you. Um, do everything in your power to be a good person because there's some things you can't take back. It's just not. You wanted to, but it's just some things you can't take back. Um, there's some things that you'll never outlive. There's nothing on this planet you're gonna outlive because you're gonna die eventually. We all are. But if you are in a place right now where you don't know, stop for a minute, take a breath, you know, um, look in the mirror and change what you can change. Make better decisions, make better choices. Try and not hold grudges. Grudges are bad. I don't know why people, you know, and I used to be the king of grudges. I used to be the king of grudges and petty. And none of that stuff you can take with you. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing you're doing is um you're letting other people rent space in your head for whatever reason, and which doesn't do any good because they don't care. They're living their life, and you're still holding on to something that happened years and years ago, or months ago, or days ago, or whatever. But you have to make a decision to say, "I'm not," because tomorrow, I promise you guys, is not promised to you. If I can be completely transparent in this episode, is that I am scared out of my wit. Um, I don't, because I think about when I put in, like, when I first got diagnosed, and it was like, "Hey, you need to file for your long-term disability. You need to get your Social Security in order and all that." And these the speak because you hear in the beginning, you hear, "Oh, it takes 6 months to a year to get approved for your disability," and this and that. Um, Let me tell you how quick they did mine. I applied for Social Security disability on April the 2nd. I was approved. I got an approval letter and an award letter on the 15th of April. That's how fast it was. And then I asked him, you know, I asked one of the agents, and I was like, "Hey," I said, "Why is it so? Why did it happen so quickly?" And he said, "Well, you have a pretty grim diagnosis, you know, so they want to go ahead and get that started." And the speed that it took them to get everything approved, even though I have to wait, my waiting period or whatever, but at the speed that it took for them to approve me was was crazy. Was crazy. Um, so that it's little stuff. It's stuff like that. It's like it makes you put life in perspective. Like, man, this is crazy. Like, I can be gone next month. I could be gone 6 months from now, or who knows? You know, that's why it's important. It's important it's important to be true to yourself because you just never know. You just never know. And I'll repeat that until I'm blue in the face. You just never know. And, I'm going to do this podcast until I just can't no more. I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to be more consistent with it. Um, but sometimes, chemo has me wrecked, wrecked. And nobody ever calls me up and says, well, I got some people, I have certain people that check on me all the time, but um, there's certain aspects of chemo that I absolutely hate. And one of the drugs that I take is called Florinox. There's another drug. It's not Florinox. There's another drug that I take, and it gives me the sensitivity to cold. So what I mean by that is that I can't drink anything out of the fridge for like a week because I have chemo every 2 weeks. So that the day I get infused for that week, I can't drink anything out of the fridge because it tastes like I'm swallowing razor blades. That's how it. And then to the touch, it's called neuropathy. I think you guys have heard me say this on this podcast, but it's called neuropathy, and it makes your fingers tingle like really really bad. It's like you're somebody busted a 40 ounce on somebody's head, and you're picking up the glass shard. That's what it feels like, right? Normally in neuropathy, you get it in your fingers and toes, but I just get it in my fingers. Um, and it is the worst feeling ever. And walking around nauseous, like you would not believe. And they give you medication for your nausea. Um, but every time I take the meds, I'm so nauseous when I'm on chemo. A couple days after chemo, um, is that nausea med puts me on my ass for 2 or 3 days. Like I can't function. I can't sleep. I actually had my son Terry Jr. last weekend, and I got my infusion on Monday. So I get infused on Monday. I wear a fanny pack that has another drug that I'm ingesting Tuesday and Wednesday. I get the fanny pack removed on Wednesday, and then I'm walking out the rest of the symptoms Thursday, Friday. By the time I got him on Friday, I was no good to nobody, and so I kept him. I kept him Friday overnight, Friday into Saturday, and I just could not. I just could not. I could not function. I couldn't walk around with him. I couldn't. I could. There's nothing I could do. And so I texted his mom, and I was like, "Hey," I said, "I'm just not. You know, I don't know if my body was out of whack because I used to do chemo on Fridays, but now they moved it to Mondays. I don't know if it was out of whack. I'm not sure." But she was like, "I understand. Pack him up, bring him home." Because I think her fear is something happens to me and I have him. There's no way that she would know or whatever. My roommate has my phone number and all that jazz, and he can unlock my phone and make decisions. But I think that's one of her fears. I'm not sure. But that's one of the worst things I hate about chemo is that it knocks me out of commission for like a week. And some of my folks, they'll check on me, like she'll check on me and text me, and, see how I'm doing. And I appreciate her. All my friends do. Um, but that's the one of the things that I hate the worst. Um, and so I'm like, why go through that's the reason why. That's the reason why I say if she comes in there and says the chemo's not doing anything for you, you know, we need to do something else. And I'm gonna be happy to say I'm done with chemo. I'm done with chemo at this point. Let's do radiation, see what radiation does to me, and then go from there. But in closing, I'll say this is just be mindful, y'all. Be mindful of what you do, what you say, and most importantly, how you say it. Because I'm a firm believer, and I will believe it until I'm 6 feet. I'm a firm believer that it's never what you say, it's how you say that thing. You know what I mean? So just be mindful of what you say to people and, love each other, you know, forgive them people. And you guys, if you've been following me long enough, I'll tell you in a minute. forgive them. You know, I had to forgive people. I've had to ask people to forgive me for the stuff that I've done. Um, so forgive people. But most importantly, at the end of the day, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. I know that it's tough, but it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to forgive yourself. It's okay to, you know, to reflect and grow and learn. And it's okay. You have a new day every day that you wake up and God puts breath into your body and gives you one more day. You have another chance to make it right. So that is what I will say to you guys in closing. You guys have a great rest of your night. I will see you next time.